Hello, or welcome to another Pedal Out video. So today I'm going to do an update and a living with video on the 2006 Subaru WRX Impreza Wagon, Subaru Impreza Wagon WRX. Okay, when you've been in your car a while and you turn the key, nothing happens. You have to press the button. There we go. We've got the seatbelt warning light here because we haven't done our seatbelt yet, and we've got the handbrake warning light, but all the other lights disappear off and you can see it's starting to do its kind of cold start routine. Which is cool. You can also see down at the bottom left, it's flipping freezing here in the UK, which is why I'm wearing a big coat. It's outside temperature 3 degrees. I get that the other parts of the world is probably even colder, but for us here, for me, that's quite cold. Right, so owning this WRX wagon for coming up to a year, it's not quite a year yet. So let's talk practicality. So you may think because the Subaru, because it looks like an estate car, that it's as practical as an estate car. Well, it kind of isn't really. The WRX wagon boot space at 356 litres offers hatchback practicality, but with estate car looks. You can fit 3 adults in the back, supposedly, but the one in the middle, I guess with any car that seats 5 people, it's going to be tight. The interior, if you're into more modern cars, it's not going to please you. It's quite old-fashioned in here. This is the limited version of the Impreza. It comes with leather, heated seats, heated leather seats, and a moonroof. Not a sunroof, a moonroof. So on the day like today, you're going to be trying to see the moon, I guess, but it's a sunroof. It's a sunroof. It's electric. It's tilt slide glass panel with a thing like that. It's quite cool. I kind of keep saying it. Subaru Impreza uses a boxer engine, so the pistons kind of sit horizontally and box each other. What that means is you can mount the engine lower down in the front of the car. What that means is you get a better center of gravity, and kind of it helps with handling. It also means that the engine can be, it's horizontally mounted, so it can be positioned towards the center of the car, which means the differential that goes to the rear wheels to give them power, because obviously it's 4-wheel drive, is also mounted in the center. So a lot of people will say and rave about kind of the front and back weight distribution in a car, but this car kind of nails it also side to side as well, which people don't talk about as much. So that's a really, really good thing from a handling perspective. The 2006 WRX Wagon comes with a 5-speed manual gearbox, and you kind of might think, well, 5-speed, who uses that? Well, it gives a nice split of power. It gives a 50-50 split of power between the front and the rear wheels, unless it kind of detects a bit of loss of traction. Then it has what's called a viscous center locking differential, and that will shift the power to the relevant wheel accordingly. Basically, if one of them starts slipping, so you're going around a corner at a fair old rate and there's a bit of diesel on the road and one of the wheels goes, there's a bit slippy, the car will sort it out for you, hopefully, so you don't end up in a hedge. The gearbox uses some techniques called cold forging and shot peening hardening. Yes, you heard me correct. Shot peening hardening. What that basically means is it makes gearboxes a bit more bomb-proof. So the Subaru WRX gearbox that's in here is very, very robust, which is what you want from a essentially high-performance practical car. This car, it is relatively old-fashioned, and when you get in and out of it, you can kind of tell that with the clunk of the doors. Although there's a solid clunk to them, they don't feel particularly thick. However, this car does come with crumple zones, impact protection beams, front and side airbags, so it is reasonably safe. And if you look at some of the crash test videos for it on YouTube, you can see it holds up surprisingly well. Also, the engine, we mentioned this earlier, being positioned where it's positioned in the car, is designed to kind of slip under your feet in the event of a head-on impact, which is quite cool. So it doesn't interfere with the cabin. The engine bay becomes that kind of crumple zone, and the engine and the gearbox kind of disappear underneath your feet, basically. So quite clever stuff from Subaru. The 2006 cars were some of the first Subarus to operate a fly-by-wire throttle. Now, a lot of people kind of believe this to be a bad thing. I actually have been driving this car for nearly a year, as I've said, and I've only just realised that by doing a bit more research that it is fly-by-wire. It doesn't really feel like it's fly-by-wire. Many people kind of wonder why you even need fly-by-wire. It's just so that you can kind of smooth out the drive. The car can control a little bit more what's going on with the response of that accelerator pedal, rather than just relying on a straight cable to the engine, which in sports cars and things like that can end up kind of being quite jerky driving and things like that. So having a fly-by-wire throttle is quite a good thing. Like there, we just set off, you get a nice smooth start. The car uses a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It actually won Engine of the Year, apparently. If you Google it, you can find out it won Engine of the Year. So it's a pretty good engine, although it's not the most environmentally friendly, we have to be honest. So this thing is in the high car tax band, and it does chuck out something like, I don't know, 250 grams of carbon dioxide every kilometre. Sorry, environment. This is a Subaru WRX. It's a World Rallycross car. How much of the Subarus that entered World Rallycross Championship in the 90s and in the early 2000s, they don't do it anymore, unfortunately. How much of those cars actually makes it into the road-going versions of them? Well, the truth is not a huge amount, but a lot of the learnings, so the things that they pick up on in the Rally Championship Series, driving a car on gravel in a rally helps design and build a car that's probably more capable to operate in markets like Australia. So it's kind of cool. And the making various bits of the suspension components, those lower front transverse link suspension arms, lighter and of aluminium, was one example of things that had been learned from that World Rallycross Championship Series and taken over into the car. The really, really sad thing about Subaru and its World Rallycross heritage in general is that, for those of you who don't know, ProDrive, they're a company that kind of took over the rally arm of Subaru in the early 90s, and it's really down and thanks to them that Subaru had all of its rally success with Colin McRae, etc. in the 90s. They, Subaru, or their new owners, and I can't remember who it was, Fuji or some heavy plant thing or whatever, in the mid-late 2000s, decided to bring it all to a close, which is kind of sad. So you don't see Subaru anymore entering into the World Rallycross Championship. So if you do want a piece of rally car and you want to ship 3 adults around and a load of gear in the back, because although it is only kind of hatchback practicality, it is still pretty practical. You could do a lot worse than invest in a Subaru Impreza WRX Wagon. Being a Subaru, it's also flipping reliable as well. Had this car nearly a year, nothing's gone wrong with it. It's got nearly 92,000 miles on it now. It's great, it's absolutely great. It's not a hatchback, it is a hatchback, but it's a performance car hatchback, and you get a lot of performance for your money, a lot of performance. This particular WRX has been breathed on by those wonderful people at ProDrive. So it comes with, I mentioned this in my first video, the PPP. Watch my first WRX video if you want to know a bit more about the PPP. What does PPP even stand for? PPP stands for ProDrive Performance Pack. So the WRX Wagon wasn't made in the crazy STI version, which is a shame, but you could get it breathed on by ProDrive with the PPP. And if you did, it made it a little bit more, not fully, like an STI, which is kind of cool. So you still got the, again, watch my first video for all the info on that, on the WRX. You got 266 brake horsepower, whereas I think the standard WRX had 230. And you can really feel it. So I've mentioned a lot of the good things about the Subaru WRX. Are there any bad points? Well, arguably the 5-speed gearbox is great fun if you're kind of tearing around twisty A roads. Twisty A roads. The 5-speed gearbox is really good fun. If you're on the motorway and you are on a long motorway journey, then it probably could do with an extra gear, to be honest, and to slop it into 6th would be quite kind of nice. That's not the end of the world though. The rush of power that you get in this car, the way it puts the power down through all 4 wheels using all of its fancy symmetrical 4-wheel drive system, is flipping brilliant. This thing just absolutely goes like a stabbed rat. I've heard that expression. I think I mentioned in my first video. It goes like a stabbed rat, really flipping does. And it's great. However, you do find yourself changing gear rather quickly. So this thing will go up to 8,000 RPM, but by 6,000 RPM, you're out of puff and you're changing through the gears. It does seem, which I suppose for most modern driving, you're not kind of at the top end. Actually, all the performance is down in low speeds and low gears, which is really, really kind of cool. So first and second and third, you just put your foot down and this thing just goes like the absolute clappers. It also, as again, having that 5-speed gearbox, I'm criticising it for not having 6 on the motorway, but in 5th, if you're cruising and you want to go even then if you don't even have to change gear. If you just put your foot down, the turbo just whooshes this car off. It's one of those cars where when you are travelling at motorway speed and you give it the boot without changing gear, that you really, really feel it. It pins you back in your seat as a driver. And that's really, really cool, and your passengers will, I'm sure, thank you for all of those thrills as well. Thanks for watching this pedal out video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Comment below, tell me what you thought, tell me what you think about the Subaru WRX, and subscribe to the channel and come back very soon for more car videos. Cheers.